What do we truly know? What if everything we believe to be real is just a construct of our minds? What if the world we experience is not the world as it truly is, but merely a version of it, shaped by the limitations of human perception? Watch till the end and decide for yourself. For centuries, philosophers have debated the nature of knowledge, how we come to know things, what is truly real, and whether human reason is capable of uncovering absolute truth. In the 18th century, one man revolutionized this debate, offering a perspective that would redefine philosophy, science, ethics, and even modern law. That man was Immanuel Kant. Born in Königsberg, Prussia, now Kaliningrad, Russia, Kant was a meticulous thinker, deeply invested in the great philosophical debates of his time. He was a man of strict routine, so predictable that people would set their clocks by his daily walks. But within his structured life, his mind was anything but rigid. He was the architect of a groundbreaking philosophical system, one that sought to bridge the gap between reason and experience, morality and freedom, knowledge and reality. His ideas continue to shape the modern world, from how we conduct scientific inquiry to how we define human rights. But do Kant's ideas truly offer answers, or do they simply lead us to deeper, more complex questions? In this video, we will explore the three fundamental pillars of Kant's philosophy: epistemology, theory of knowledge, ethics, and the metaphysics of freedom. Each section will conclude with a question, one that will serve as a bridge to the next idea, pulling us deeper into Kant's revolutionary way of thinking. But before we can understand Kant's radical ideas, we need to explore the intellectual battlefield that came before him. What were the dominant schools of thought before Kant, and how did they shape the debate over knowledge? Part 1. The clash between rationalism and empiricism. Before Kant, European philosophy was divided into two opposing camps: rationalism and empiricism. These two perspectives were engaged in a fierce battle over the nature of knowledge, each claiming to hold the key to understanding reality. Rationalists, such as René Descartes, Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, and Baruch Spinoza, argued that true knowledge comes from reason, a priori knowledge. They believed that the mind has innate ideas, principles that exist independently of experience and can be discovered through logical thought. According to Descartes, we can doubt everything except the fact that we are thinking, hence his famous statement, cogito, ergo sum, I think, therefore I am. Empiricists, including John Locke, George Berkeley, and David Hume, rejected this notion. They believed that the mind is a blank slate, tabula rasa, and that all knowledge comes from sensory experience, a posteriori knowledge. For Locke, there are no innate ideas, only impressions and perceptions formed by interacting with the world. This debate reached its peak with David Hume, who introduced a radical skepticism that deeply troubled philosophers. Hume argued that our belief in causality, the idea that one event causes another, is not something we actually know. Instead, it is just a habit of thinking, formed by repeated experiences. We assume the sun will rise tomorrow because it has always done so in the past, but there is no logical proof that it must happen. For Kant, this skepticism was deeply unsettling. If Hume was right, then science itself had no firm foundation. It was merely a set of assumptions based on repeated observations, with no certainty that the future would resemble the past. This realization forced Kant to rethink everything. If experience alone is unreliable, and pure reason cannot give us knowledge of the external world, how can we truly understand reality? Part 2. The Copernican Revolution in Philosophy. Kant's solution to this problem was what he called the Copernican Revolution in Philosophy. Just as Copernicus had reversed the traditional view that the sun revolved around the earth, Kant reversed the traditional view that human knowledge is shaped by the external world. Instead, he argued that the external world, as we perceive it, is shaped by the mind itself. According to Kant, the human mind is not a passive observer but an active participant in constructing reality. It does this by imposing structures, such as space, time, and causality, onto our experiences. These structures are not things we learn from experience. They are the conditions that make experience possible in the first place. For example, when you see an apple fall from a tree, your mind automatically interprets this event through the concept of cause and effect. But cause and effect is not something that exists independently in the world. It is a framework that your mind imposes to make sense of events. The same applies to space and time. They are not properties of the external world, but ways in which our mind organizes information. This led Kant to a profound conclusion. The world we experience, phenomenal reality, is not the world as it truly is, noumenal reality. We can never know the world in itself, das Ding in sich, only the world as it appears through the lens of our cognition. This idea revolutionized epistemology and reshaped the way we approach science, philosophy, and even psychology. Connecting question. If our minds shape reality rather than simply perceiving it, can we ever know the true nature of existence? Part 3. Kantian Ethics, the Categorical Imperative and Universal Morality. Beyond epistemology, Kant also transformed our understanding of morality. Most ethical theories before him were consequentialist, meaning they judged actions based on their outcomes. But Kant rejected this. He believed that morality should be based on universal principles, not consequences. His key idea was the categorical imperative, a rule that applies to all rational beings at all times. One of its most famous formulations is, act only according to that maxim whereby you can at the same time will that it should become a universal law. This means that before taking any action, one must ask, what if everyone did this? For example, if a person considers lying to protect themselves, they must ask, what if everyone always lied? If universalizing this behavior leads to contradiction or chaos, then it cannot be morally justified. This principle became the foundation of modern human rights and ethical philosophy. If morality is truly universal, as Kant claims, how do we explain the vast moral differences between cultures? Part 4. Autonomy, freedom, and the purpose of life. For Kant, true freedom does not mean acting on impulse or desire. Instead, it means living according to rational moral laws that we impose on ourselves. This concept of moral autonomy was a radical shift from previous ideas about freedom. He argued that we are not truly free when we act based on external influences, like desires or social pressures, but when we follow moral laws dictated by reason. However, this creates a paradox. If freedom means obeying strict moral principles, then is free will even possible? Do we truly have freedom, or are we just following moral laws dictated by our own rational minds? Kant's ideas changed philosophy forever, but do they still hold true today? If human reason shapes experience, are there limits to what we can know? If morality must be universal, how do we explain cultural differences in ethical values? And is true freedom possible, or are we simply bound by the laws of reason? Don't stop here. Keep questioning, keep exploring. Enjoying deep philosophical discussions? Join the discussion. What do you think about Kant's ideas? Do they still apply in today's world? Let's discuss in the comments. Subscribe now and turn on notifications to explore more.